All right, so here we go. We've got tons of brand new Saints Row reboot details. This is a total blowout of new info, including details about new gameplay mechanics and one of the most exciting features of the franchise called Criminal Ventures. Now, all of this info comes from GameInformer.com/Saints Row. They're doing an entire month-long special about this game, and they even showed off some brand new gameplay snippets, which we are seeing right here, and it's looking like the game is running at a solid frame rate, which is really noteworthy. But yeah, let's dive into all the details right now. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good. And yes, we are talking about the Saints Row reboot. We're diving into the open world and the 11 districts in detail, on foot and car combat, special abilities, progression, side missions, and more. And I'm going to be talking about what I'm liking and not liking so far from what we're learning about this game. But let's first of all start with the biggest new feature called Criminal Ventures, and this is how your gang is going to be taking over the city one block at a time, and this is how it works. You'll have a map at your headquarters, which is going to be taking place at an abandoned church, and you'll be able to upgrade this headquarters as you go, and then you'll have access to 15 empty lots throughout the map to take over with legit businesses that act as fronts for illegal activities. But what's cool is how you can really do some crazy out of the norm stuff with this system. For example, if you want to upset the richest district on the map, why not build a military surplus place right there next to luxury homes and shopping centers? This is actually something you could do in the game. And you know, I love this whole Criminal Ventures system because it reminds me of one of my personal favorite open world games. I talk about it a lot, The Godfather. They had a lot of taking over the city in that game. Now, there's several different criminal fronts you can actually run in this game. You can run a toxic waste corporation, and they did show off a new screenshot of that right here. Check this out. And you can see how people are kind of irradiated, and it looks like some of them are actually sick. So I don't know if this will influence the population nearby. I'm curious to see if that's something that can actually happen in this game. But yeah, you can also run the aforementioned military surplus shop or even a food truck company, but instead of serving hot dogs, you'll be operating as drug dealers. And what I love about Criminal Ventures is that each front will offer its own gameplay and missions associated with that front. So for example, you might find yourself driving around a toxic waste truck that is highly volatile, and the next moment you'll be fighting off waves of enemies around a food truck. So you could see the variety being offered here with these Criminal Ventures, but they take it even further because some of these Criminal Ventures allow you to invest in experimental weapons or even hoverboard technology. So there's some wackiness going on. As you can see, some of that wackiness from Saints Row the Third does come into play into this game. They're not taking it as far as they previously did with the wackiness, which is good. It's basically sitting in the middle of Saints Row 2 and 3. They did confirm in the, I guess you would say, interview/article with GameInformer. But yeah, we got to talk about the driving mechanics that we have seen so far in the little gameplay snippets of Saints Row Reboot. And it's sounding like it's pretty solid, so let's get into this right now. So according to GameInformer, driving in the new Saints Row feels excellent, being described as tight and responsive. Drifting is also a bigger part of the driving experience as well, and there's also car combat options more so than in previous Saints Row games, including the ability to climb on top of the roof to have more control over your shooting. You can also wingsuit from that position on top of the roof of the car, and there's also wingsuit launchers throughout the city. And of course, you can go to the top of the skyscraper, jump off, and activate your wingsuit. So I'm getting a little bit of Just Cause in our Saints Row for sure. Now you can also use ramming maneuvers as the driver to smash into cops and cars and other rival gang members. So they're kind of extending the car combat a little bit more. And right now you're seeing Saints Row the Third gameplay, of course, because I'm celebrating this Saints Row reboot. I'm personally getting excited about it, talking about all these features. But anyway, let's talk about the on-foot controls and the gunfight. So on foot, controls feels much more realistic than previous Saints Row games. That's according to GameInformer, which has me really curious. The driving mechanics, shooting while on foot feels very responsive and tight, and you could still carry around a bunch of weapons like previous games, somehow pulling out, that magical rocket launcher from your pocket to destroy a truck, and then the next moment switch to an SMG. It's very arcadey in that sense, and a lot of fun in that sense. So they're still going with that type of gameplay. It's not like super ultra realistic where you have to worry about the weight of your gun or how much inventory space you have. They're not dealing with that sort of thing. But let's talk about melee combat. So melee combat is going to be very simplified, but you will have a meter at the bottom of the screen that will fill as you land successful hits. And I think we did see some indication of that from the GameInformer clips here. But let's see if we could find that. But anyway, it's pretty cool because once that meter does fill up, there it is right there, you are prompted to perform a cinematic finisher. So those are actually going to be returning to the game as well, because a lot of you guys were wondering, hey, are we going to be seeing those cool cinematic finishers that we have heard about previously? And look at this nighttime shot right here. I'm loving the lighting effects in this game so far. We're going to be talking more about the open world in just a moment, how it's structured, because there's a lot of cool details there. But yeah, so far the lighting model looks to be pretty solid with this game, and I'm liking the diversity between the urban areas as well as the more desert landscapes. They're going with a variety of environments with this game for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the progression system and the base of operations. So yeah, there is going to be an actual progression system in this game. As you rank up, you'll be earning experience points and cash, which can give you access to new skills, more health, and new ability cooldowns. Your gang's headquarters is going to be located at the abandoned church. Now, while this place is not ideal at first, you will be able to upgrade it as you go, and the gang ends up using the Catholic Saints logo strewn about the church and take that as influence to call their gang the Saints. So I think it's cool how the world that you're in is actually influencing your characters. That's something I do love when games actually have the open world influence the story of your characters. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, let's talk more about the open world. So we know that there are going to be different biomes in the game, but now we have a lot more details. There's actually going to be 11 distinct districts. We have what is called the Eldorado District, which is going to be offering retro glitz and glam as they describe it. But we have luxury areas of Lakeshore, for example, an Old Town District that feels like you're stepping into the past. So you can see there's a lot of variety on offer here, and they're aiming for a Las Vegas, Arizona type feel with this game. And there's plenty of desert, of course. We've seen shots of that in the screenshots and gameplay, but it's going to be split into two parts. On one side of the city is going to be what's called the Badlands with dust bowls and rolling storms and that sort of thing. But the other side, you'll be able to experience more lush plants, beautiful skyboxes, and more green on that side of the city. So it seems like they're actually tapping into the variety when it comes to the desert landscape as well. Because I actually live in Arizona, and trust me, it's not just brown. There's a lot more green than people realize, especially during monsoon season. So it's cool to see that they're tapping into this. Now, let's talk a bit more about the enemy factions. We've seen some gameplay showing that off here. We have Marshall, for example. Let's dive into this right here. It says, the Saints Row dev team say they want the three enemy factions to feel radically different from one another when combating them. According to GameInformer, so far this is actually true. So they've actually gone hands-on with the game, and they can really feel the difference when facing off against these factions. Now, one faction will feel like they are rushing you with close-ranged weapons and brute force, while others will overwhelm you with futuristic gadgets, firepower, and smoke screens. Just imagine if one of the factions was run by Tony Stark. That's kind of the example they gave. Now, then we have the idols, who are more like zombies. At least that's what it sounds like to me because of their mass following, and they just absolutely come at you with numbers and will absolutely swarm you. Now, GameInformer did touch base on the tone and feel about this Saints Row reboot, and there's a lot of controversy regarding that with the cinematic trailer that was first revealed, but I'm seeing the positivity more and more as we see the gameplay. So it's definitely very interesting when Game Informer has shown off these snippets of gameplay to see the positivity come in here. So that's got me very interested. But let's talk more about this tone and feel. So the Saints Row reboot will be comfortably sitting between Saints Row 2 and 3 with that tone and feel as described by the dev team. They won't be taking the humor as far as Saints Row the Third, but want to still provide plenty of outlandish things to experience. It's just going as crazy as they're just not going, as crazy as the third or fourth game, especially. Now, the team was very, very nervous, by the way, about pursuing these brand new characters and look to the previous characters for influence. However, although there is inspiration there, they didn't want to cookie cut the characters straight from the previous Saints Row games. They want these characters to stand on their own 2 feet. We'll see if they can actually pull this off. It's going to be very, very interesting. They did also speak about how you actually start the game in Saints Row Reboot. I didn't want to provide too much of that information because I believe some of that is actually spoilers. But what we can say is that this is going to be basically a game that takes you from being someone that's lowly, I guess you would describe someone that's struggling. You're going to be starting with your gang that's going to be stuck in a very tough place, barely making it. And you know, we've all been there. I think it's kind of more of a relatable story here, and they're trying to make some money and get out of this situation. So I'm kind of curious to see how the story is going to be received, because it sounds actually pretty good compared to the initial reaction of this trailer here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if people like the story or not. But from what I'm hearing, it's very relatable to what people can be going through during current times and the tough situations people can be getting in, and then going to the top and taking over the city. But anyway, there it is, guys, the latest about the Saints Row reboot. But I did want to go over your top comments about my most recent Saints Row reboot gameplay video, I guess you would say. So let's dive into that right now and see what you guys had to say. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video, but let's take a look-see. Here was my most recent video about the leaked gameplay info that just shocked everyone. And this is where we see the positivity come in. There was that leaked gameplay and people were like, wow, this actually kind of looks good. What's going on? And I did offer warning, you know, keep your expectations low and you'll never be disappointed. That's just my opinion on things. So we have Lil Luna who says, I was never concerned about the gameplay. I knew that it was going to be solid. It's the character, story, and writing I'm worried about. A lot of you are also worried about that as well. Mickey says developers should never use a CGI trailer as their first look trailer. Also, demos need to become a common thing again. That's why I did like what they did with Outriders, and they still have that as a demo. You can go in and play the Outriders demo. It's not a beta. That's so cool. CHD says, whenever a reveal doesn't go well, then a little bit later there's a leak. Info gameplay. I'm starting to think it's not really a leak. Conspiracy theory. We have Internet Mouse who says, I'm hoping we can get a 10-minute uninterrupted gameplay footage. The leak did make me feel a bit more positive about this game, but we now must see how it plays it out, and the best way to achieve that is through a 10-minute uninterrupted gameplay footage. Absolutely. So keep your eyes peeled at Game Informer. They will probably have that type of gameplay. GameInformer.com/Saints Row. I'll throw the links in the description below, and then I hope to break down this stuff in the future as well. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Saints Row reboot details, news, updates, and gameplay, and of course other open world gaming goodness. And I will see you all next time. Take care.